who should be here. He's running late. He's running to a meeting. I would like to just start before I talk into what Arium is. I would love to just maybe create an interactive discussion. If anyone would like to volunteer to say, actually, I'll turn my video on so you can see what I look like. In case you're curious. Hold on, let me change the video camera. It doesn't let me change it. Okay. 1 second. Not working. Okay, I'll just use this camera. Okay, yeah, so I would like to start the discussion. Sorry about that. Just to open up people to say how they imagine, like talk a little bit about your work and how do you imagine it in relation to metaverse experiences, or if you want it to be experienced in the metaverse, if you think it's important or not, and how would you imagine the ideal way for that to be experienced to be, and what's important. I don't know if that makes sense as a prompt, but if anyone would like to speak about that, I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Hi, Dan. This is Claudia Pollock
Hey.
here. This is something I've actually been thinking a lot about. So, a little bit about my practice. I'm a photographer working with analog mediums, but most recently have been working with cyanotypes and printing AI generated botanicals as physical cyanotypes. So, there's this kind of give and take between the final physical object also being a scan and then an NFT. So, there's kind of like a physical object, and there's also the digital version of that that exists in this digital realm. And so I've been thinking a lot about, okay, I have these physical prints, but I think it would be amazing to also give the NFT space within the digital realm, such as a metaverse, like crypto voxels, and having them, I guess, like exhibited in a way that wouldn't normally happen within like the physical space. So if that's maybe a certain kind of like interactivity or gamifying it in some way, or maybe even having, I'm just like kind of throwing ideas out there, but I'm always thinking about like, is there a way that we can like show the specific works that we're creating in the metaverse in a way that we can't in the physical world? So that's kind of where my head is at with like my specific work.
And what kind of interactivity or gamification would you imagine existing? And do you have any? Have you thought about? Yeah, what have you thought about as far as that?
Yeah, so this is like big picture thinking. So the way that I create my cyanotypes with sunlight is, printing out these AI generated botanicals on like a transparent film, overlaying it on like treated paper and exposing it to sunlight and creating the physical print that way. But I've been thinking about maybe a digital version of that where like the user can kind of walk around, maybe figure which outputs they like the best, and then kind of transform those outputs to create kind of like a cyanotype within the metaverse, maybe exposing it to like a virtual sun in that space to kind of like simulate the experience you would get in the physical world.
Hmm, that's interesting. And do you imagine that being core to the artwork itself, or like an addition on top of that? Do you feel like that's core to the experience of the artwork, or do you feel like that's like an additional thing on top of it?
Yeah, so like the work that I'm making specifically, one of the main themes that I always look back to is like the collaboration that exists between the AI and the user, and that
Hmm.
give and take. And so I feel like if I could like simulate that theme virtually for folks who maybe want to have that same kind of experience, I think that would be a nice way to do it if it's possible. Not everyone has access to, a dark room or just maybe a space in their house where they have, can eliminate any light possible, and then physically print it at home. But maybe kind of simulating an experience, doing it virtually can kind of, I hope, evoke that feeling of like, oh, I'm collaborating with an AI and also creating like my own kind of work with this like virtual sun is kind of where my head's at.
Mm. It's really interesting. I mean, I think, yeah, I feel like actually you could probably, if it was possible, you could do stuff in an experience like that that wouldn't be possible to do in the physical world. Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting. I'd be really curious to see that explored a little bit more. Um, Anyone else? Any volunteers?
Yeah, I could.
Aidan. Oh,
Oh,
go ahead, Anne.
Okay.
I don't know who spoke, but yeah, I can say a little bit about this. I'm a generative artist, which means my art is code-based. And to be kind of blunt, like I'm a digitally native artist, but also I'm like born from social media and especially Instagram. So I was always quite focused on getting that into that square. And now in the last 6 months, actually for the first time, I've started to think about the how my work would actually be experienced outside of that format a lot more. So I definitely don't have like full rounded ideas there yet, but there's one work where I played with this idea, and it's called Art for Walls in Public Spaces. And it was very inspired by Brian Eno and his album Music for Airports. So kind of this idea of having art that you can both ignore but also can look at and then find things that are interesting, and finding the balance between those two. And I was kind of imagining like if metaverse had a municipality to then like be the person who designs the inside of the tunnels, and that kind of like something that I was playing with, this idea of like this kind of public art, and quite big. And then because the art is work is code based to also it is quite scalable and not dependent on certain, it can be maybe even not dependent on aspect ratio, but still quite flat kind of play.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like aspect ratio and formats and scale, and I mean interactivity. And yeah, I think those are all things that you can really. I think people are just starting to explore that, but I think, and also programmatability. I think these are all kind of things that, hopefully there'll be more venues to explore making things like that. And I'd be really curious to see what that would look like in your case. Yeah, and have you explored, I don't mean to prompt you, but have you explored doing this kind of stuff in a more 3D format than just 2D?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of experience with it, but I've just started exploring things of 3D in the last kind of month. I first explored like a lot of different softwares, but it's still work that really lives only on my computer. But it's definitely something that I am very interested in it at the moment. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
So
I'm
I'm
curious.
actually kind of
Yeah,
working
go ahead.
on exactly translating the work that I made that's just like on the screen, trying to translate that into a 3D version, and that maybe if you look at it from one side, it looks exactly like the flat one, but then if you start, panning, you see the 3D in it, and walk through it, hopefully.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You can really, yeah, like when people look at it from different angles, you get that. Like that's kind of like a form of interactivity where the person's viewer's perspective, and then moving around is like a form of interaction that can be definitely explored, and how they see it. And have you thought about? I don't mean to shift the subject, but ways that maybe this kind of stuff can be tokenized.
What do you mean? Like, you mean a
I don't
3D
know.
object? How that could be tokenized?
Yeah, or like even beyond a 3D object, maybe like programmability in 3D objects and just new things that aren't possible right now.
Well, like I said, I explored a lot of different softwares, and what I've settled on now is 3JS, which is a library for JavaScript. So then it's quite easy to tokenize that as, like an HTML file. But
For sure.
no, haven't haven't thought about it that much beyond that.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's something that that might be a direction that people start going. We'll see. It depends on if the marketplaces support it. Anyone else? Chris, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. Hey, nice to meet. Excuse me. Sorry. Nice to meet you, Dan. I'm a sort of like machine learning and new media artist, but I'm also my day job is as a sort of like Web3 designer for a design agency, and we're actually tackling a fairly large question around a client's request around like basically creating a metaverse. And on my sort of like through my readings and opinion, that kind of thing, I've always seen the metaverse being more than just a like 3D like video game-esque space to walk around in. So I'm curious, like I know that obviously we're focusing on that medium today through Arium, but the sort of concept that I've always seen the metaverse truly meaning is just like a universe of shared property rights and like basically a digital layer layered on top of physical. So how do you see this sort of like progressing beyond a browser window or a computer screen? Is this something, the way that we've been kind of like looking at tackling this is through like once the tech becomes widespread anyway, a more like glasses, AR, XR type of layer? Or how do you see things kind of like progressing beyond that? Because ultimately, if we're stuck to a browser window or like a computer screen, that does sort of limit the interactivity to a certain degree. And I've always felt like there's got to be more than just like a video game screen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you're talking about like XR, I think is going to be a big thing, so that you get really a more immersive experience, but it's obviously less accessible. It's more work to put it on, and I think there's certain limitations down with the technology that the Oculus Quest 2 is an excellent piece of hardware, but it doesn't really handle a lot of advanced graphics, so you really kind of have to scale down the experience. So I think hardware right now is a current limitation, but I think as the hardware gets better in the future, and more people have VR headsets, that'll definitely be a new way to experience it. We're definitely looking at ways to support VR without sacrificing too much of an experience. But I mean, the nice thing about the browser window is it's very accessible, and it's really easy to use. Yeah, I'm not so sure about AR right now because I feel like a lot of people release AR, but I don't see a lot of uses in it. But I think maybe, yeah, we'll have to see where that one goes. But that's a good question. I don't know. I don't really know the answer to that one.
I don't think many do. So to put you on the spot there.
Yeah,
we're trying to figure that out ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm just going to quickly walk through what Arium is right now and maybe talk a little bit about where we're going in the end and go through a quick demo of what's possible. First, I'll just talk about our backgrounds, the creators of it. Aidan's not here right now, but I'll just quickly talk about like the story of how we got here. So what Arium is it's a no-code collaborative virtual world builder that empowers any creative to craft a unique, beautiful metaverse experience from building blocks from a web browser. And we're moving more into the crypto economic aspect of it, which I'll talk a little bit about later, and kind of like new ways of ownership around these experiences, which we're still like figuring out exactly what that looks like. So Aidan, my co-founder, comes from a background of working at the Park Avenue Armory in New York, which is a experiential art location where he collaborated with pretty big artists to build experiences, room scale experiences around digital and video artwork. And yeah, this is some of the work that he helped create. I come from more of a programming and tech background. Before becoming more of a creative technologist, I worked creating real-time interactive experiences, mostly browser-based. The one on the left was a gamified cycling class. This was for a client, and this basically streamed all the bike data into a platform that could visualize it and gamify it. This is all in the browser using WebGL, 3JS, and React. The one on the right, I worked with researchers at Google as a freelance creative technologist at the Google Creative Lab to open source to basically port their internal research into an easily accessible library called PoseNet, which can do human pose estimation using machine learning in the browser. And this became widely used in the creative community for interactive applications. Since PoseNet was released, there's been some really nice new ones that have come out that I actually really want to explore for creative uses that can do 3D pose estimation from just a video pretty accurately. And it works better with dance poses, and it works really nicely with dance poses and poses that are hard to track. Because this, for anyone familiar with machine learning, this is kind of this algorithm on the right was trained on very generic pose estimation data that was very generalized, but they have new data sets that are really good for more extreme, challenging poses. And I'm gonna explore doing just some personal work around that. So how did Arium start? Arium, Aidan and I, co-founders, were colleagues at a program called ITP at NYU, which is an art and technology master's program. And at the end of the year, there's a student showcase that's widely attended. This is a very social environment, the grad school program, and the student showcase is also super social. That's the image on the bottom right. That got canceled because of the pandemic, and we were in charge of figuring out how to recreate this experience in a digital format where no one could be in the same room together. So we created the first version of this, of what became Arium, it was called Your back then. It was a 3D it was a custom built 3D platform that worked in the browser that replaced avatars with webcams, because we found that to be more of a humanly connected experience and more engaging for the social aspect. And then we took the 2D floor plans of the grad school floor and converted into a 3D model, and brought these all together into a cohesive experience where all the student artwork could be showcased on the wall. And we found that people really, compared to traditional like Zoom call or other VR experiences, people actually hung out here for hours and hours, just like enjoying socializing. And then we left the space open for a few weeks, and people were coming from around the world to like host their own events in it. And then we realized this could actually be a really compelling experience around a really compelling virtual way to experience a show together. I did a lot of work. I'm going to kind of skip through this because there's a lot to go through today. I did a lot of work with sound performance, and the next, I'm going to actually skip through this because there's a lot to go through. My first exploration into creating art in like a virtual setting was I did some live stream performance where I was streaming sounds into a virtual space and attach the sounds to these balls of light that would move around and be tied to the characteristics of the sound. And they're using spatial audio so people would hear the sound moving around their heads if you're wearing headphones. And let's see if this plays. I don't know if there's sounds, but this is basically, yeah. This is all the people in the room kind of like experiencing this thing together, which was really cool. And then I got really excited about the possibility of what could be done with like an interactive live performance in a virtual space beyond just having a screen in there. This, for anyone curious about the technical aspect of how this is done, because the live stream has a 30-second delay. So how can you synchronize what's in the live stream with these lights that are in the space. I embedded some black and white pixels in the top left of, actually you can see it here. Where is that? There's a clip. Some black and white pixels you might be able to see on the top left here, and these actually are all the instructions of where to place the sound and the where to place the light balls and the sound and the characteristics. Like these are the modulation signals that are linked to the characteristics of the light and the sound. And then I'm just going to show about a little bit, just some clips of some events we've held. So we just started working organically with crypto artists and have entirely like focused on working with crypto artists. Like we worked with Hackatao in the beginning, and then started working with that started just spread organically within the community. We didn't do any marketing, and I didn't know what an NFT was before that first event we did with Hackatao, who's pretty established and one of the best crypto artists. I don't know, sorry, I can't say best, but like one of the OG crypto artists who's been really successful and makes amazing artwork. And this is an event we did with the Museum of Contemporary Digital Art, which was a curatorial tour. And this had 18 artists from emerging Italian digital artists in a space together. And hold on. This is really cool because I don't know if, can you hear my sound from my video? I'm not sure, but basically each artist is able to talk about their work, and the curator was able to speak about each piece.
Yeah, we can hear it. So yeah.
Okay. We do a monthly exhibition with the whale community, which shows different collections of whale shark. This is the first one we did, which they did show 24 OG X copy pieces of artwork. Let's just fast forward to it. Some parts of the video.
Moving and in appearance like
happy images or aesthetic, and the answer was that it is for like contrasting everyday problems through this art that almost makes you like forget about them. And also like we were talking about the.
And then I'm just gonna, because there's a lot of it. Pupila Dilatada, which is a group of Brazilian crypto artists curators who wanted to do a show on Tezos with art curated from Tezos on Hicketnunk, on the former Hicketnunk. They created a multi-stage experience. Each space was designed by a different curator / metaverse architect. They built all these spaces using our tools, and they had a really amazing event with live VJ and music. And this is all done. Yeah, this is basically VJ Suave and Silo Samples. We're doing a live. Someone was doing VJing on the screen, and Silo Samples was playing live music from software-based synthesizers. Let me fast forward to the next one. This is a really awesome experience we did in collaboration with Ayla Crago, who you spoke to last week, where you could basically, this space was linked to the blockchain. There are 300 artworks in here created by Ayla Crago. They were black and white GIFs, and they could be purchased directly in the space. And when they're minted in the space, the actual space changes. It's linked to the blockchain, and a door will light up indicating that it's been purchased. And we basically had an opening, and a bunch of people were here. These are all the people you can see over there kind of running in at the opening, checking out all the artwork. So this is kind of what the minting experience looks like. You just literally connect your MetaMask and you can purchase it right there. And the door lights up when the artwork's purchased. And each of these cubes that is lit up means that the artwork was purchased. And this is linked to the graph, to the graph, which can basically query all public data on the blockchain, on Ethereum. And I believe other chains too. This is a talk we experienced to do with, so we're doing a monthly residency partnership with the Museum of Contemporary Digital Art, where they're hosting a different artist every month as part of their super rare spaces curatorial space, where they basically, it's a decentralized curatorial experience, and they have their own, they work with their own set of artists and have their own kind of marketplace built on top of super rare. And this is just a clip of the talk with Kevin Abash, which if you go to our YouTube, you should actually watch us talk about this work. It's like really, really amazing.
Using a method that I employ more often than not in my work, certainly in my crypto work, I start with input data. In this case, it was the use of the word love and its derivatives across a couple 100,000 public social media posts. Now, what am I trying to do here? Am I trying to scientific using a method?
And then last but not least, of course, we've been working with a vertical crypto art, the residency programs to build where the residents, certain ones that want to collaborate and build experiences using our platform and host an auction. And this is the first one. This is actually before the residency auction. This is where vertical crypto art sold artists from some of the best, some very nicely curated group of crypto artists. And there's a VJ set by Electric Method. It's unable to play, but and this is the one, this is from the second cohort. This is the space that was built by, this is an amazing space. It was like a festival, and this is clips from the curatorial tour.
And it's live audio and visual generative piece.
Right, let me move around. Okay, I'm going to the other side.
And then the final video is, and then basically as part of that experience, people created their own spaces that were attached to it. This was by Occulted, and they were doing a live Blender performance, and Richie Houghton was there, which is really cool. If you know Richie Houghton's like an incredible DJ producer. So they built this using our tools that were, and this was connected via portal to the main residency auction space. And finally, the last one I will show is, this is the Digital Roots show, which was done recently, and this was amazing. Victor Meldrew was VJing a live drum and bass set, and Nicole was, there's Rob Ness having a good time. Brandon Dawes is there.
By Martin, which has been sold for 650 pesos. We then have Sanjay and first analog back.
Okay, so yeah, basically she was speaking using, we have a broadcast feature, and then this is connected. We basically can do live streaming in 3D, where you can take a live stream, like a Twitch style live stream, and map it onto any 3D object. I'll demo that later. This is some of the partnerships we currently have. We're working with the Whale community to do monthly exhibition of their collection. We're doing one with a lot of money on Saturday, Vertical Crypto Art Residency Program, which you're all a part of, which I imagine you're going to create an experience for the show. Mokta Foundry, we're collaborating with them to create a monthly exhibition for their resident. The next one is Render Fruit, and that's going to be really cool. You should definitely check that out when that's out. And then we're doing a series of performances with the Maxi Museum, Contemporary Art Museum in Rome. Check out our Twitter to find out about all the things that are happening. Okay, I'm actually going to, for anyone that wants an Arium space, I'm going to share a link in the Discord, and you could just put your name next to it. This is going to be kind of just a quick walkthrough of the features. And then I will kind of quickly walk you through how the whole space creation, how you create a space and how do you build with Arium. So, okay, I'm gonna exit full screen, and then once you get an invite, it'll basically take you to this page to create a new space. You can start with a template. Okay, oh yeah, let me fix the sharing permissions. Hold on. Okay, the permissions are fixed. So you can start with a template, or you can start from a blank space. So I'm going to start with this just template space. And you will get I'm just creating this, 1 second. So you will get a space with a URL, and you can change it. I can be like Dan's Fun Gallery, and you can also change it later. You're not locked into that space URL. And okay. So once you're in, we used to require, we're moving a kind of away. I mean, webcam and microphone, webcam is great, but I mean, it's becoming more apparent, especially with the crypto art community and NFTs, that people want to be anonymous. So we allow people to skip that. For certain kind of events, people want webcam and microphone, but it's certainly no longer required. Let's just let it load the space quickly. I think my internet here is like kind of slow today. Okay. So once you create a space, you can start from a template, and everything in here is pretty much customizable. You're not really locked into anything. This is just a starting point. So one of the things you can do is, let's see. So this is basically, you can see all the content is accessible, is controllable from here. So this is this building is locked. Actually, I'll show that later. I'll show actually a nice simple example of customization. So there's this water out here. I can change the color of it. I selected the water from here. I can change this to be like a different color. You can change the reflectivity. Why is that grayed out right now? Oh, because it's locked. Let me unlock it. Okay. I can make it less reflective or more reflective. And another basic thing about controls is you can fly around. By default, it's first-person controls. If you click orbit, you can fly around and you can kind of zoom out and see everything. For anyone curious what this is built in, this is all in the browser, and this is built with React 3 Fiber. And yeah, pretty much React 3 Fiber. And a library called React 3 Dre, which has a bunch of add-ons. So yeah, this is a basic, just to customize the water. And then I'll show you quickly how you can add NFTs. Or I could, let's say if I want to add an NFT, someone has a bug that says you release the maximum amount of spaces. Okay, I'm gonna look into that. Maybe Aidan can help out with that. He's chatting. If not, we'll resolve it after this call.
Yeah, Dan, I can monitor the chat if anyone wants to ask questions there.
Okay, so currently that's to show the most common thing you want to add, which is an NFT. So you would click here. Unlike other platforms, you can add as many NFTs as you want to the space. So you would basically click here to add any element. And you can click on a wall here. I can see it sticks to the wall. It can go to the floor. You can even have it in the air if you want to. but you would just put the thing here. Let's say you click on the wall, now it's stuck to the wall. Again, move this over with these three controls here, translate, rotate, and scale. And now we're working on, we're working right now on Web3 login. It's not ready yet, but until it's ready, and actually this is useful for people that are curating shows that don't necessarily have an NFT in their own wallet. You can just basically manually, right now you have to manually input the NFT information. Eventually we'll have a Web3 login where this will automatically just pull from your wallet. So let's say I want to add let's say I have these, I'm going to show, these are like some of the things that I own. I don't own that many. This is Visual Massage. This is from the Ale Crago piece. So I would basically, to get the token address, I would go to my OpenSea, and this is there's basically, you need a token address and token ID. So if you go to the URL, this is the token address, the first part of this here. And then the token ID would be here. Just loading it quickly. Let me turn off my notifications. Okay. It's loading the media right now. Sometimes it takes some time to just generate the media. Okay, there we go. Okay, so there it is. That's the thing. And oops, I don't know what happened. Put it down. And there it is. Now if I want to add something from Tezos, that'll work the same too. So I can go to this wall, I can add a NFT from Tezos here. And then I would have to choose basically Tezos from this drop down. These are some common contracts, so it'll automatically propagate it. This is Hicket Nunk. And then let's say I want to go to, let's see, let's grab this one here. I could go here and let's say I want to add this thing here. This is a Hicket Nunk one, so I could basically just choose Hicket Nunk from here and then put the token ID. Then it's loaded. And you notice we load the description into this thing, and then also when you click on it, it'll generate this like high resolution view of the original artwork. And also a link to the marketplace. Just loading the original image, sometimes it can be slow. So just in the thing, these are both actually, this one is a GIF originally, this NFT is a GIF, but a limitation of 3D is that you can't display GIFs in 3D space, so it's actually converted to an MP4 before it's shown. But when you click on this, you will see the original GIF once it loads. It's just sometimes the IPFS can be slow to load the original files. Another thing that's really nice you can do is you can actually do what's called theming. Actually, yeah, so I can, we need to expose these settings better, but let me actually make this a little narrower so you can see what I'm doing here. So let's say I have these two things here and I want to change, I would go to Advanced Editor. Let me just make this a little smaller. And there's a theme here. And I can like change the frame everywhere to be, let's say I want the frames to be white. All the frames are going to be white now, and I can make them bigger. And know, everything has a white frame, and that's like if you have a bunch of images or videos in a space, you can change them all at once with this theming settings. The UX could obviously be better. And I can even do the same thing for the placard. Like I can make the placards be like black text and then a white background.
Dan, just a heads up, we're not seeing your theming controls. We're just seeing.
Oh, because it's just showing the browser window. Let me share the actual window. Thank you for that. Okay, 1 second. Let me share. Screens. Okay, that's what I want to do. Wait, is that the right one? Yes. Wait, which one? Okay, so I would have changed in this screen, in this other window, those settings. You can also change, for example, the skybox. So I would go here and not that one. I want to go to this thing. I could change the skybox. I can easily choose from a preset. Choose from any presets, or you can update your own HDR. You can drop your own HDRI file here, and we have environment mapping, which means that the the sky color is reflected on 3D models. It's also very easy to drop a 3D model into the space. So basically, what I would do is I would just click here. I would add a 3D model. So the format of 3D models we accept is GLB files, and these GLB files can have animations built into them. So this is basically like a stock one we do by default. Let me just find another one to drop in. So there's some other assets I have just for a demo. I don't know what this file is, but we'll see. I'll see what this 3D model is. Just reloading it. Oh, this is some other. Oh, this is some other 3D model. But you can see how easy it is to just drop something into here, and then you know, just place it in here. Now I have another 3D model that I can walk into, like another space. So everything's like fully customizable. This one has some shadows. You can fully customize the lighting. So if you want to get into that, where's the light? So there's a light here. Let me actually zoom out so I can see that. Where is that light coming from? Yeah, so there's like a directional light, which basically is like a sunlight that shines from the distance. I can actually easily rotate that so that the light changes around. Like if you can have it come from here. You can also add different forms of lighting. So let's say I'm in here and I want to. So there's basically 3 different kinds of lights you can add. You can add. This is a spotlight, so this shines in one direction. This is basically a spotlight that shines in one direction. I can have it, let's say, shine on the wall. You're not going to see the effect so much in this video in this demo because the walls are kind of black. But I can like make the angle. I can make it more narrow. I can choose like make it softer. Let's see if you see the effect here. Let's shine it on the wall here. Yeah, you can kind of see it shining on the wall. You can change the color of it. Or you can make it a point light, which is going to shine out in every direction. It's basically going to shine evenly out in every direction. So you have like full control over the lighting. You can turn on shadows, but you don't want to have more than 2 lights, one light with a shadow, because that's going to make the scene run really slowly. Yeah. And another thing that's really cool you can do is you can add a portal. So this is a portal, basically, which will transform you to another space. Where did that go? Oh yeah, so it's here. You can make it invisible so people don't see it. It can be like a hidden portal, and the portal can either transfer you somewhere within the same space or to another space. So if I choose to another space, this would be like a list of all the spaces that I have access to. And I can have it basically transport me. So let's have it go to the digital roots, which is the other DCA space. And now I'm in this other one. And the back button works because it uses like browser-based client-side redirecting. So if I click back, it'll take me into here, into this building. What else is there? You can also just add videos and images if they're not NFTs. So you can just basically put something on the wall and drop it, and you can put something on the wall and just upload a video. And then another thing, so this whole all this terrain here is actually just, it's another element. So everything in the space is basically elements built with our editor. So this terrain here is actually generated from a black and white grayscale image. And you can upload any kind of grayscale image and that'll become the terrain. And you can also choose like the height of it. You can make it taller. So now there's more of the mountains are taller. You can scale it. And you can, I'm not going to go so much into the customizability, but this just shows that you can upload your own terrain map out of a grayscale image and it will recognize it as a terrain. And then for those curious about 3D modeling, all of our 3D models use a GLB format, and then there's certain hidden metadata that will tell Arium that there's like a certain wall can't be walked through, which means it's collidable. A certain floor is a ground, so it knows that you have to walk on top of it. There's a whole video on how to do that, which I'm not going to go into here. But actually, I'll show you a quick example of what that could look like. So, for example, this Mokta Foundry space here that I'm going to show you. It's a bit slow to load right now. My computer is my internet's slow. So if you notice, I can't actually walk off the side of this platform. We don't want people walking off to the desert. And how's that done? With an invisible wall. I'm just going to quickly show what that looks like. And there's another video that shows how to make it. But if I go, this is basically we create 3D models in Blender in general that can export GLB format. But not visible here is there's these like invisible collision meshes, which are basically just kind of like walls that you can't see. They block you from walking off the side. And also you can use that, let's say you have a really high poly count model, but you don't want to use like the details of polygon for collisions. You can create a low resolution, a much lower poly count model that can act as a collision wall that you can't walk through. But you don't see these walls inside of Arium because there's certain metadata, certain custom properties that tell Arium that they're not visible. And I want to show you a really cool work in progress feature, which we're hopefully gonna release soon. Hold on, where is it? Where is it? This one? No, where is it? Yeah. Okay. So with videos, basically the way sound works is there's positional audio, which means that the sound gets louder the closer you the closer you are to the video. So you can actually now control how that works. So let me choose actually this one. So there's spatial sound settings. Why isn't that showing up? Let me reload this. I'm just this local development. Okay, it's not working in here, but I'll show you what actual what a sound positional audio settings would look like in another. This will probably release in the next couple of days. Just have to fix some bugs. So I have a sound element here. This is basically just I uploaded an MP3 file, and then basically the sound is coming from here, and then it gets quieter the further you are away. And these kind of light indicates how this color indicates kind of the intensity of the sound, the volume. And I can actually choose like how you want that to peter off. So let's say I want the sound to be really loud at the center and then roll off more, so you only kind of hear it as you get closer to it. This will kind of show you how loud the volume is at certain points. And you can also have it so that the audio only plays like when you're really close to something. And we obviously want to integrate music NFTs, so that I think would be like the next phase. But this is basically how you can control positional audio. This is also going to work for video too. So you can control how loud the video sound is as you get farther away or closer to it. Or you can say, I just want it to play globally, and then it's going to have a constant volume where you don't care about the positional audio. So this is basically the spatial audio mode. And then one thing I want to show you too, which is really cool, which is we can do video mapped onto 3D models. So what does that mean? That means that I can have, this is basically a GLB file that has, for those that are familiar with 3D modeling, it has a certain set of UV mapping that tells basically where textures should appear on this object, and we can use that for videos. So how is this created? This is basically a video with this kind of UV mapped guide that shows where it's gonna play, and then there is a 3D model that over here that is UV mapped, and the video is basically plays onto this 3D map. Oh yeah, and with all videos, basically, you can choose what geometry you want the video to play on. So if I show you in the space influences, for example, which is created by the Mint. So this is basically a curved screen. You can you can basically choose what you want a video to play. It could be just on a flat surface, or it could be on a curved thing, and you can actually just choose a curved angle with a slider. So you can have a really nice wide format video that's really immersive, and in VR this is going to look really nice. Or you can choose a 3D geometry, which you can upload a GLB file and that'll be mapped onto it. This is the kind of stuff I'm really excited about, and I hope people explore it more. And we're looking at ways of like letting people tokenize a piece of artwork like that. It's like a video plus sound plus 3D model plus space. So we're just looking at ways this can be tokenized and sold. I think that wasn't really, that was kind of just a very quick overview of the features, and I would recommend people look at some videos we have on YouTube that'll show really how to build a space and go through all the features. I'd like to ask if anyone has any questions or thoughts or feedback.
Hi, Dan. It's Claudia again. First, I just want to say I'm so impressed with just this little presentation. Like, I was geeking out the whole time and just like thinking about different ways to like use the space. And now I just like can't I just want to start like right away. I'm just so impressed. This is this is a pretty, I guess, like simple question, but maybe it's something I missed earlier. But I know you can like take your NFTs and like put them on like walls and like link them that way. But you can also just like link images like a PNG or like a JPEG. That's not necessarily minted either. But then can you also like hyperlink something else to those files, like maybe another web page or something? I'm just thinking about like if there's work that I haven't minted yet, but I still want people to be able to like click on the JPEG and like be redirected somewhere. That's possible, right?
Yeah, the way it is done right now is, let me just quickly show you. Let me just show you quickly. The way it's done right now, but a lot of people have asked for this. The way it's done right now is basically you would, let's say I just add an image to the wall here. And let me just find an image to upload. I don't know. Let's just, oh wait, that's the wrong file kind. Oh wait, no, I selected the wrong thing. Hold on. Oh, okay, shut up, never mind. So I could make it interactable, and I can have it open like a, let's say this is another site, and go to, I don't know, OpenSea.io. So basically, so now when I click on this, right now though it has to go in here, but people have asked for us to have just like a literally straight up link. So I think right now you have to like click on it and then you get this, but we definitely want to make it easier to just maybe have a link like right on the wall that you can just click to, that'll take you there. Because a lot of people have asked for that. But this is how you would do it with the current set of features.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Anyone else? Is anyone just curious if anyone's like interested in kind of tokenizing like a different thing than like a 2D image, video, or a GLB file? Or just curious if people have thought about that.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, hi Dan. We actually met a while ago in LA, but so it was cool to go through the whole tour today.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I'm working on a VR experience, and it's the VR experience is going to be narrative, but yeah, definitely thinking of ways to how to divide it so it's not just kind of like selling one experience, but I've been creating a bunch of different 3D assets. And now I'm actually doing a little residency with Mozilla Hub, so it's very, very similar. I think kind of probably file size, like kind of capacity in the web. But yeah, I've been thinking a lot about that. Would love to explore more. Thinking of how to tokenize 3D models, but also kind of interactive, like the spatial experience itself of entering, kind of like one scene or environment. So yeah, I think what you guys are doing is really interesting.
Yeah, Mozilla Hubs is great. I would say it's somewhat similar in features to what we have. Yeah. But I think there's a lot to explore there as far as what you're talking about. One thing I forgot to mention is that the editors, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, is that the editors collaborative, so you can actually literally email someone a link and then they can actually edit the space. All the editing happens in real time, so you can have a team of people editing a space together in real time. Okay, that was my little.
To look. So I'm actually in the middle of a packing, so it's a bit crazy. Yeah, and I was a bit unclear about the project, but yeah, I'm very interested to explore a bit more in the next few weeks. Thanks for showing us.
Sure.
I'm also curious to hear, I don't know if you went over what you guys are doing with Maxi. I know the museum, so I'm just curious to hear about the project there.
Aidan can talk more about that one.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Aidan. I can say Maxi is it's a museum in L'Aquila or in Rome, but they also have a museum in L'Aquila, and they're really interested in this area of sort of creating not just exhibitions but interactive pieces and performative spaces online. And so what they've done is commissioned 3 totally new works by artists whose work is engaging with the internet and how people are connected online. And so we just launched the second of 3 pieces with an artist named Miltos Manetas, who has been making what he calls internet paintings for about 20 years now, which is painting things in physical space, putting those on the internet, then painting those internet spaces back in physical space, and sort of mixing back and forth between the digital and the physical spaces. He's been doing this early on Second Life and sort of precursors to Second Life. And now with Arium, he's sort of continuing to explore these really interesting crossover regions. And there'll be a third project with Maxi coming up, and maybe a 4th project with Maxi later in the spring and summer. But they've been super fun to work with and sort of continue to push forward this idea of not just exhibition, but exhibition and performance and installation work in these virtual worlds.
I wanted to hear where we could find that exhibit, the Maxi, the second one. And I was actually just thinking that I am curious to hear a little bit more about like what thoughts you have about, if you could go a bit further into how you're thinking about tokenizing when you talk about tokenizing the spaces. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess to answer that first question, I just put a link to the Maxi sort of home space in the chat, and I'll let Dan speak more to the idea of tokenizing. But just to give some background, I think what we're recognizing is that on most marketplaces, there's really only the ability to tokenize. Not only, it's really fantastic ability, but there's the ability to tokenize individual 2D and 3D artworks, like an individual file, and that the type of work that we are seeing being built on Arium and even in the real world in installation art often incorporates multiple elements. So it incorporates space in 3D, it incorporates video art and projections and sound to create sort of an entire cohesive experience. And we're looking into ways, first of all, that this type of experience might be represented as an NFT. And then second of all, one of the things we've seen is that, even in our Discord, we have, people who are experienced with 3D modeling and people who are less experienced with 3D modeling, kind of connecting and sharing tips and sharing approaches to, bring Blender assets into Arium, for instance. And we're wondering how can help 3D creators kind of get paid for their work to bring those into some sort of format that can work on Arium, but can also work interoperably with other metaverse platforms. Dan, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, I think everything you said is, yeah, absolutely correct. And there's also just the idea of permanence, where if an experience is minted without the economic factor, it can exist forever. And I think maybe one day there's a difference between, I think, minting an exhibition, which is showing artwork, and minting. It's hard to define exactly. We're still figuring out, like, is it minting an exhibition or is it minting an art experience? If you talk about minting an exhibition, maybe one day there could be a database of where all artworks have been shown in the metaverse. That's like one way you could look at it, and also it can be like a system of record for that. And you could even, and then talk about minting an art experience. There's also a way for it to be permanent and potentially ownable. And you could even drill down from not just the art experience, but you could create maybe new forms of primitives that are just digital art primitives. That's a combination of 3D light and sound, or physics engine and 3D model and interactivity. So we're trying to just formulate exactly what this is going to look like.
And I'll just add one thing to that, which is that we're still, as Dan mentioned, we're still exploring what this tokenized 3D art experience might look like, or tokenized 3D assets for building an art experience. So if you have particular thoughts or questions that could help guide us, we would love to hear them now, or you can always DM us or contact us on our Discord, or
I'm gonna drop a link to Discord here.
Just a quick thought question note is that I guess, when I hear tokenizing, I think that the word token maybe is a bit abstract for me, but because when I hear tokenizing, I think of the ownership of the NFT, but then I was also wondering about, in terms of performances, if there is some sort of like interactive or performance quality of it. If you're doing anything like tokenizing entry, for example, like a one-time entry, rather than just looking at it as a sort of a whole thing that you either you sell and then one person has ownership. I'm sure there's like so many different models, right?
Yeah, Aidan, do you want to answer that? I think performance is like is a whole other thing to, or the actually, like, what does tokenizing the live experience mean is another question.
Okay.
Aidan, do you have any thoughts around?
I'll just add to that. My professional background is in theater, and so I'm still working to understand this idea of, like, how does an ephemeral medium like theater, a medium that is so connected to the experience of a particular group of people in a particular place at a particular time, exist in a blockchain enabled website. And so I guess to the answer of tokenizing entry, I think that's a really exciting way that you could have performative work exist and be supported online. And we haven't seen much of it. I'm not sure how much willingness there is to basically pay for tickets to virtual works, but I think if there is, it's definitely something we would love to support. And I'll just mention one other thing, which is I'll put a link to a couple other spaces in the chat in case anyone has extra questions, or wants to just explore different spaces. I think, one of the things that's been most exciting about building Arium for me, and I think for Dan as well, is that so much of what we are seeing being built, so much of what artists are creating on Arium is beyond anything that we necessarily envisioned or could have possibly imagined, even if we had tried. And so I think the goal of this platform is to make it as flexible and expressive as possible, so that if you have a particular idea, you can make it happen, even if you don't necessarily have the like deep 3D knowledge or deep coding knowledge to actualize it, sort of without some sort of support. So we're really excited to see what you all build on Arium, and any questions or thoughts or comments that you have, please stop by our Discord, which Dan put a link to, and let us know. And no worries, Micah. Don't need to have any questions.
No question. Just want to say that this made me quite excited to make a space.
That's great. I'm excited to see where that goes. Excited to see what you make with the tool. I'm sure it'll be nothing. Yeah, it's always exciting to see what it's probably something we never imagined would be made. So I'm excited to see that.
Okay, so if we don't have any further question or comment, we can close this class here. And also, I just wanted to mention that I shared here in the chat the 2 Arium spaces that we created lately with, of course, Arium. So if you want to go check them out, it would be great. And yeah, thank you so much, both of you guys, Aidan and Dan. It was an amazing class, and I think Arium is an amazing tool. I personally love it. Also, the little avatar eyes are the one of my favorites. So thank you so much, guys. And yeah, if you have any further question to our mentors, contact them through Discord, as they say. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, great to meet you all. Thanks for sticking around. Bye-bye.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you both. Bye.